Hey, I'm here in our apartment, our ex-apartment. I'm kind of doing my part to wrap things up here. This is our bedroom. Was our bedroom. We were here for about a year. Bathroom, living room, kitchen. As you can see, it's all completely bare. This is, of course, the outer signs of Kim and I breaking up. So I'm here paying the last half month worth of rent, possibly giving the keys. Say I don't have any reason to be here anymore, really. So just kind of wrapping things up. It's very strange. For me, this whole situation is very strange, but at the same time, it's absolutely necessary. It's very necessary. Completely, 100% necessary. This is part of me becoming honest with me. And it's painful, and breaking up with someone is painful. Breaking up with the only girl you've ever been with is more painful. Breaking up when you have a child together is even more painful. But it's necessary. I was dying being in that relationship. I had suppressed every single genuine thing that I felt in me that needed to come out. With her and her family's help, and with my help. And I'm not blaming anyone here. I mean, I've blamed myself. That's part of this journey that I've been on is taking the world on your shoulders, or attempting to, and it failing big time. It's only a failure in one sense. It's also just what happens. Life happens, and you can take whatever stance you need to. And being able to pretend and being able to attempt to change yourself to fit for somebody else is also acceptable and allowable. And necessary. Completely necessary. I don't really have a topic for this video. I don't know if there needs to be a topic. I think I'm gonna sit down. Oh. So, there are so many different levels in this world. So many. And also, your mind, my mind, is complicated and devious. It has its own aims. And you as the soul, or you as the being, the consciousness, you do have control in a sense over that, but at the same time, you don't have control over that. Just as the natural things around you, just as the inner functionings of your body, some of them, like your breathing, you have some control over if you choose. You can consciously alter your breathing, or you can ignore it and let it go, and it will go on autopilot. And that's how a lot of the life is. That's how most of it is. You can input somewhere and see what happens. What has been happening with me is I've been attempting to exert my control over certain parts and been satisfied or not with the results, and mostly not. And so what I've personally done is I've just receded back, and I've given the whole thing over, almost the whole thing over completely to autopilot. And in doing so, the emotions in me have been throttled down to almost gone. And I think that's a protection mechanism. I went through some traumatic things, some very traumatic things with some drugs, some cannabis affected me very strongly and just emotionally traumatized me a lot. And I think my way of dealing with that was just saying, nope, this is too much. I don't want it. Take it away, you know? And that's what happened. It was taken away. So I'm at this spot now where the traumatic things have been taken away for the most part. And my emotional state is still suppressed, repressed. But I'm working on it. I've been asking for God, right? God. It's such a 3-letter word, 4-letter word. It's a 3-letter word, but it's a 4-letter word. We have trouble with it. A lot of us have trouble with it. I know I have trouble. I still do. I can't say God without having kind of a yucky taste in my mouth, like, ugh, you know? So whenever I want to say something involving the word God or my thoughts around that concept, I always have to preface it with, well, you know, God is a word and it's pointing to something and it means something different to me than it does to you, and blah, 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 blah. And that's still sort of a weakness in me. I'm still holding on to that insecurity. So anyway, I'm getting more comfortable with the term God. And I've been talking to this God, and I've been yelling, cussing him out, her out, saying, put me the fuck where I belong, and bring it, you know? I've had a little bit of attitude with it too. And it's being brought. This breakup is being brought, you know, by God, by the universe. It's not being brought by me. It's not being brought by Kim. It's just, it is what it is. It has to happen. And it's sad and it's lonely. And I'm still lost, you know? I'm still wandering. I'm still searching. I don't know where I'm supposed to be. I've been saying, God, put me where I belong, this and that. I still don't know where it is, you know? I don't know. Information overload has gotten to me in a big way. the internet is just if you want to learn how to not be able to relate to the people around you, then go do tons of research on the internet all day long. And you'll segregate yourself completely from everybody. You'll be able to connect with a few personalities online, but you're not around them. You don't get to talk to them on a daily basis. You get to talk to the people around you. And because of all this knowledge that you've gained from surfing the interwebs, you will feel smarter than, more knowledgeable than the people around you who haven't read these things. You know? And I suffer from that problem. I don't see it as a benefit. It's a bit of a curse, especially if you know so much. You have so much head knowledge. You have brain knowledge. You have intellectual theory knowledge. At the neglect of everything else, at the neglect of emotions, at the neglect of true connection with other people, true companionship. You know, in the relationship with Kim and her family, I was always put off that I just didn't fit in there, you know? I was put off by it and resentful. And I was resentful that I couldn't talk about the things that were interesting to me. And it could be argued that, oh, you could talk about it, but the fact of the matter is the situation didn't lead me to feel like I could talk about it, so I didn't. And I didn't talk about the stuff they cared about because I didn't care about it. So it's a strange place. The world is a strange place. We've brought a lot of unnatural things into it. We as a species, as a society, have brought many quote-unquote unnatural things here. We have the cell phones. We have artificial connections via social media. I mean, we all know that we project a lot in relationships, and you're having a conversation, and then inside your head, you know, the thing's doing this, and the language creates a pretty nice barrier. And there's a fundamental disconnect there. I think that's why a lot of us are longing for, when we hear people talk about telepathy or soul connections or this sort of esoteric things, we gravitate toward it because we feel some sort of energy in what the person is saying that's not necessarily connected with the words themselves. It's just, you can feel if someone's being 100% genuine and speaking from the heart. It's very simple to discern. You can take one polar opposite, like a newscaster who's just spouting, and you know there's no connection, and there's like a mild disgust listening to them talk, but I'm not really upset with them, but it's just like, you know, when you've had some sort of real connection with someone somewhere, somehow, however rare it may be, that's what you want. You want that a lot, and can't always have it. So anyway, I've been cussing God out and asking God to put me where I belong, and I've been not drinking. You know, I got my chip at AA last week for a year, and I'm getting up there to speak, and I'm supposed to share my, in a general way, where I was, where I am now, and blah blah blah, and hope in recovery, and I'm supposed to share good news, and I didn't have good news to share, so I didn't share any good news. I shared the bad news of Kim and I breaking up, and I was just truthful about it, and I said I'm not in a super happy place right now, but I'm not drinking, and I'm doing the steps that I feel like I should be doing, within and without of AA. And a few people came up and said, thank you for being honest and genuine. That's the thing. That's why we go to AA. It's nothing else. It's not so we don't drink. Drinking is like 1% of what goes on there. Drinking is almost the cover for the public. Yeah, so this is a new realm for me, completely new. And I have good support with my family. I isolated to the point where I cut off a lot of close friendships and don't have a lot of those. And I even isolated away from my family. And when someone talks to me or texts me or calls me, my first instinct, gut instinct, is to ignore, to put off. Immediately, in my mind, it's not even a conscious thought. It's just I look at it and I know that I'm going to respond to them in an hour or in a day or not at all. And that's unhealthy. It is. I wanted to show you something before I cut this off. This is the bathroom. This is a hole that I punched in the door right before I went back to AA again. And that was an outward sign of the repression and the anger, incredible anger that I had at everything. Just mad, just very angry. Super angry. Mad at God, mad at myself, mad at Kim and her family. And not expressing anything that I needed to express. Just suppression. Pure suppression. And it was eating me up. Just eating me up. Completely. So to describe whatever I'm on now as healing, I think is it's a little one-dimensional. I am on something new, and I'm doing my damnedest to trust in the higher power and the universe. The way I relate to that power most is I just equate it to the whole thing, my lungs, my inner workings of my body. The wind blows perfectly, like that's my God, that's my source. And if I'm humble enough with it, then I don't discriminate when I'm thinking of that power. I don't discriminate that this thing is God or this thing is not God. It's a practical tool to discriminate in terms of the ego, when you see your own individual ego self causing havoc, and you don't look at that as this is a sign that I need to look into that area of havoc that's being caused. In that situation, it can be good as a tool to disassociate the ego self from your concept of God, because that's what our mind does. We're allowed to do that. We can box things up. That's how we, especially guys, that's how we understand the world around us, is we box it up. So anyway, this is getting a little bit long, but I just wanted to. I mean, with these videos, I used to have grand aspirations and plans for them. Right now, I just want to share. I want to share what's going on with me, and I want to connect with other people. Anybody that I can help is great. Anybody that I can connect with is great. Any interaction with other people is good via the video, and also it's just therapeutic for me to get out the thoughts that I'm having. as far as routines, I still haven't gotten routines. I'm still, I'm still very allergic to routines. I don't like them at all. But I can say that one routine that I have that has been steady for quite a while, and this came from Wim Hof with his breathing methods and his cold water. I tried one time the breathing in, let it out. So you're taking a really forceful breath as far as you can, hold it briefly, let it out, and you're just doing that for about 30 times. And combine it with, once you get to that 30th breath or so, get in a shower, turn it cold, and breathe through that. And your body will not be as affected by the cold. Takes a little practice, but I'm to the point where the cold is not, it's not like shivering, this is so freezing. You know, it's almost like I feel the cold. I feel that the temperature is different, but it's not changing my perception. It's just like hot is one aspect and cold is another aspect. It's not to where it's not that I can or can't handle it. It's just there and it's cold, and when I'm done showering, I dry off and I'm not cold anymore. So with Wim, he was able to use this technique to big levels, and you know he achieved many crazy physical feats. Look him up, Wim Hof, Wimhof. He's an inspirational guy. He's been through lots of things, and I've just been trying in my own very timid, scared way to do different things, different practices in my life in a kind of a gentle way, not in such a bipolar alcoholic mind way, which is you find one thing and you're like, oh, I'm gonna just do this for a week straight. I'm not gonna eat. I'm not gonna breathe for a week. I'm gonna make the most money in the world. Like those kind of things. Excuse me. That's the alcoholic mind. And that's the mind I have. It thinks in extremes, and it just does weird things. My mind is just odd. It doesn't compute super well with what we call normies, which is just the general population. Yeah, another idiosyncrasy of my mind is I don't like identifying with labels at all. And even Kim was surprised when I, sort of embraced calling myself an alcoholic at the meetings. And hi, my name is Gary, and I'm an alcoholic. She was wondering how I could even do that because of my aversion to labels. And I don't know. I have no idea. It just kind of happened. In my own mind, I don't super strongly identify with being an alcoholic. I just see markers of the alcoholic mind as described in the big book and by the people in AA, and I identify automatically with a lot of the bipolarisms and insecurities and exaggerations that those guys deal with. So that's why I like going there, because number one, they're all batshit crazy and full of delusion, even in AA, in and out. And it's interesting to hear people talk. I mean, it's interesting. And I have a spot there, like I'm welcomed there, and people are honest, which is very rare. At least for me, I don't usually see things like that. So that's why I did it. This video is getting very long. For anybody that's watching this, if there's any family watching this, hey, hello. Anybody else that's watching this, thank you. If you stuck out 25 minutes, then thank you. Thank you for your time. And I hope you can relate to some of the things I've been talking about. And don't feel too sad for me. This is a sad situation with Kim and I breaking up, but it's fundamentally necessary, and we both know it. I think it's been a long time coming, and I will talk more about our relationship and the dynamics of it in future videos. I'm not sure exactly how often I'll upload or anything like that, but I will continue to upload. And yeah, so thank you for watching, and Happy New Year. Bye-bye.